Welcome to this explainer. Seriously, I am so excited to get into this one with you today. We're unpacking a truly profound philosophical thought experiment, and it comes from a classic piece of literature known as the 10th Word. We're going to explore a fascinating argument about art, beauty, and, well, the very nature of human existence. You know, it's a text that looks at the universe not just as some random physical space, but as a grand, purposeful exhibition. So our goal today is to map out exactly how this source connects the everyday beauty we see around us to the massive, sweeping concept of eternity.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source text actually begins by grounding its philosophy in a super relatable human analogy. I mean, imagine a brilliant artist. They spend years, maybe literally their entire lifetime, meticulously crafting just an absolute masterpiece. Every single brushstroke is perfect, the colors are vibrant and flawless. But then, right after finishing, instead of hanging it in a gallery, they lock it away in a dark box where no one will ever lay eyes on it. It sounds completely absurd, doesn't it? Well, the text argues that this scenario actually defies the very nature of creation itself.
So building on that earthly analogy, the text then scales this whole concept all the way up to the cosmos. The core philosophical claim of the source here is that true beauty intrinsically desires to be seen, appreciated, and admired. The text explains this using a really interesting metaphor. It states that the owner of this country, which represents the creator of the universe, possesses this awe-inspiring hidden perfection. And according to this reasoning, a flawless, concealed beauty naturally demands an audience. Like, it doesn't just want to exist in a vacuum, right? It actively wants to be noticed, to be comprehended, and to be gazed upon with genuine admiration.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark, inherent tension it creates for us to analyze. On one side of the equation, the text posits a flawless and permanent beauty, this cosmic perfection that demands to be continuously, eternally observed. But then on the other side of the equation, we have us, the quickly disappearing guests. The text actually frames our physical world as a temporary guest house. So you have the creator wanting this eternal beauty to be witnessed perpetually, but the audience provided in this world is, well, entirely transient. We're just passing through.
Let's move to and see how this builds. So how does this tension actually play out in the human experience? The source material highlights the harsh reality of this earthly guesthouse with three key observations. First, there's the rapid arrival and departure of guests. Generations of humanity are just constantly cycling in and out of existence. Second, the sheer brevity of a human life. It's so short. And third, because our time is so incredibly short, the text argues that we really only ever catch a brief passing light, a mere faint shadow of that ultimate perfection. We just never get to stay long enough to see the whole picture.
Which brings us to a rather uncomfortable paradox. Actually, I want you to really think about this for a second. Can a short-lived observer truly witness eternal beauty? Think about it. If the universe is an infinite gallery showcasing permanent perfection, how can an audience that basically vanishes in the blink of a cosmic eye ever do it justice? According to the logic laid out in the source material, this is a massive philosophical problem. A temporary guest simply cannot fulfill the role of a permanent witness.
So the crucial point is, the synthesis of this whole thought experiment is a really simple logical deduction. If beauty is permanent, the consciousness observing it must also be permanent. The source argues that for the creator's eternal beauty to be fully and continuously appreciated, exactly as its nature demands, while the observers themselves have to be granted continuation. In other words, a temporary observer just cannot fully bear witness to an eternal masterpiece. The text uses this precise logical deduction to argue for the absolute necessity of an afterlife. It's literally a case for eternity, derived entirely from the existence of beauty. Pretty mind-blowing, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates the foundation of this worldview by anchoring the philosophical logic directly to a scriptural text. The source cites the Quran, specifically Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse 2. He created death and life to test which of you is best indeed. As we report on this source, it's really clear how the text frames mortality not as some random or meaningless end, but as a deeply purposeful phase. Life and death are presented here as a testing ground, basically a temporary stage specifically designed to evaluate and prepare human consciousness for that permanent gallery that is to come.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a reflection directly inspired by the closing thoughts of the source material. Have you ever looked at a truly beautiful moment, maybe a stunning sunset, a perfect piece of music, or just a really quiet memory with someone you love, and felt this deep, aching wish that it would just never end? The text asks us to consider, where does that specific desire come from? If we are purely temporary beings living in a purely temporary world, why do we possess such an innate, powerful longing for eternity? It's a really profound question to ponder as you go about your day. Thank you so much for exploring the mechanics of this fascinating text with me.